Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Really, the purpose of today, and if we could just put it in slideshow mode, is to do a mid-year review. So who has done a mid-year review, whether it's in real estate, their job, show of hands.
Business review?
Just a mid-year check-in, mid-year review. It could be a business review. It could be a performance review. Yeah, okay. Typically, what does that mid-year review entail?
So it entails, what you had, so what were the goals in the beginning? It's a review of where you are in line with what your goals were set.
Yeah.
What your targets were, and kind of reassess if you're meeting the goals, then you continue doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're not meeting the goals, so what is it that you're doing and it's not working out for you?
Yeah.
And then maybe
reevaluating, right? Yeah. And what's the reason we do it mid-year? Any guesses? Why even bother with a mid-year?
Because it's probably the right time for you to look at it, because hey, it's the middle of the year.
Yeah.
So if you are not halfway through your goals by that time, then it's very important to really make the changes, because you still have the half of the year left.
Yeah.
And as far as real estate goes, if you look at it, your mid-year is your June. You still have that summer time
to make up. Exactly. And that is really why we're here today, right? So you're probably going to fall in one of three camps. Camp one is I am on track to hit my goals. And so that's great. So what I would say with today is really understanding what are the activities working for you, what are delivering the results, and let's help you double down on it and maybe increase your goal, right? Like we call them stretch goals. Camp two is I am not on track to hit my goal. Like things are not going well, and that's okay too. So what we're going to do is reevaluate your 3 lead gen pillars and maybe things we need to tweak, whether it's your numbers, how you're lead genning. So we're going to get into that. In camp 3, and this one's okay too, I have no idea what my goals are. I don't have a business plan. I don't have a net income goal, no clue. And that's fine because we're going to cover that too. So without further ado, let's get started. I think most of you know me. I'm Melody. I'm the team leader here at KW Innovation. I have the lovely coach Sylvia here. She is our in-house productivity coach. And Sylvia's specialty is getting our agents into production. So I thought it would be wonderful to teach this workshop with Sylvia. What we're going to go through today is there was some pre-work. I think some of you maybe missed it or did not get it. That's okay. I would highly recommend after the workshop, take the time to complete the pre-work because it's really going to give you an understanding of what your finances look like and what do your numbers look like in terms of net.
I'm wearing that t-shirt today. What is your wealth plan? So that's what we're here to do, figure out your wealth plan and get you set up so you can actually do what you need to do to get there and meet your goals. And then of course, we can always connect after the session and sit down and have a one-on-one and get right into the numbers and get right into your goal settings so we can get you where you want to be.
Yep. We're not going to cover everything you see here. So we do a thorough business planning clinic in usually October, November. Today, we're focusing on models and mindset and the economic model and the lead generation model. I'm going to set you guys up with a really easy to use Excel template. So after this workshop, you can just plug in your numbers and there's your business plan, right? So we'll catch you up if you don't have one. All right. Do you want me to do it just so I'm not? Yeah. Well, I can just. Okay. Models and mindset. Who has seen this before? The triangle, right? So some of you've heard me talk about this, whether it was in a coaching conversation, a consulting conversation, but we always talk about the importance of models and the foundations, right? So typically what happens, where do you think most realtors fall into when we kind of look at these 2 triangles? The one that has the good foundational base and the one that's kind of starting upside down. Stable or unstable?
Most of them fall unstable.
Right. Because it's kind of fun to start with the creative stuff, right? Like it's kind of fun when we get started in real estate to work on our logo and our business cards and like worry about which photographer we're going to use and like worry about our website and how great the pictures look. But the reality is what really is going to set us up for success is focusing on the boring stuff, right? What we call the models. So when we look at high performers in anything, whether it's sports, real estate, school, on the workplace, what do they all have in common? What do they think of, like the entrepreneurs, the people, maybe the influencers you follow, the people that you respect and see as role models? What do they all have in common? Right. And habits are created from, that's right, great models to follow, right? It's that simple. And so the way we approach real estate is really teaching you those great models. And these are proven models. So when I say proven models, when we wrote the MREA, it literally was the best models from over, I think it was like over 100 realtors from not just Keller Williams, but across all brands. And we're simplifying it for you. We're saying, hey, just go do this and you will hit your goals.
And Gary Keller has really built one of the best realty companies in the world based on these models. So we're giving them to you so you can build the best business as well. Right. So these are proven models that work because we're here because of that.
The next item I just want to kind of have you think about, and unfortunately we don't have the time to dig deep into these, is from E to P, right? So when we say E to P, going from entrepreneurial to purposeful, can you think of a time in your life, whether it was at work, whether it's at home, maybe it was a sports team we were playing on, where you had the natural ability, right? Like maybe you're a great soccer player and you have the gift of agility and speed, but you just hit a ceiling. Can you think of a time? Okay, so everyone, I want get that time, think of that time, lock it in your head. Were you able to break through that ceiling? Anyone? Yeah? Marcus, I'm gonna pick on you. So how were you able to break through that ceiling?
Oh, when I transferred here.
Yeah, I did not. Did we hear that?
Yeah.
Did you
Didn't even plan.
I did not.
That's why I came for the
I love it.
I came for the
I love it. That's
I
right.
agree with it.
Yeah.
Same with Raji,
Same
right?
with me. I hit a ceiling and I
Yeah.
couldn't figure out what to do, what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then after meeting you and Crystal and going to the convention, that opened my mind and said, you know what, okay, I think this is the way I can break through that ceiling.
That's right. I know we have Zoom participants, so feel free to unmute yourself. I really do like keeping my sessions interactive, so you don't need to be formal. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you want to, if you have any.
And may I add, what I love about you guys right now is that a lot of people think they're going to do the same thing over and over and over to get a different result. And what is that the definition of?
Insanity.
Exactly, right? So if you want to break through a ceiling, you got to do what? Exactly.
Yeah. So really, it's understanding the models you need to use to break through that ceiling. We have lots of models, and yet depending on your goals, we're going to curate and recommend the models we feel are going to benefit you. All right, think like a millionaire real estate agent. So the intent isn't, and I know some of you have said, well, Melody, I don't want to net $1 million. That's not my ambition. That's not what I need to hit my lifestyle goals. And that's okay. Yet, do you think in the journey of thinking like a millionaire real estate agent and in the journey of implementing the models, you're going to build a really big business and hit your goals, right? So even if we can get you halfway there, that's amazing. So it really is built on foundational and supportive models, right? And this kind of goes through it. But again, we're not going to spend too much time on this today. The one I do want to spend time on, and if you open up your participant workbook, is your big why. So I'll give everyone a second to get there. All right. So one of the things that when we interviewed millionaire real estate agents, that they all had in common is a big why. Right? And when we think of our big why, it really is what fuels us and motivates us. So I want you to take a couple minutes to write down your big why. I want you to make it big. It is meant to be extraordinary. It is meant to be something that's like, wow, like if only I could get there, right? So dream, be ambitious, think big, and write it down. And also keep in mind, your why is going to change, right? My why, hey Ryan, come on in.
Forms?
That's after. This is the fun part.
Oh, I'll be in a minute.
Yeah, no problem.
So I wanted to introduce like the bold law right into this moment right now. So our bold law is logic makes people think and emotion makes people act. So we're gonna think about that for a minute. What emotions, what energy and emotions you need to put in to passionately drive your fuel towards your purpose? What passion fuels your purpose? So think about, why are you here? Like, why are you a real estate agent? Like, what really drives you inside of you, like inside your being, inside your soul, inside your heart? Like, what gets you to jump out of bed every day? Like, why are you doing this? So this is your big why. What is driving the passion? When you're thinking about your big why, like, if I can share a story. So for me, coming from Poland, a country in Europe, when it was a communist country, we were given housing by the government. There was like really no opportunity for us to buy or sell real estate. It was just the state of the country at the time. So my family picked up and we moved to Canada so we could actually buy our home. And that was like the big why we came here. And then there was a big why we eventually ended up buying a home. And growing up with my family, going through that period in life, drove me to see the appreciation of home ownership, like how much value that gave us as a family, like a sense of belonging, a sense of like home ownership. And it just made us feel like, we finally have a home. So then naturally, when I got into real estate, I'm like, I want to do that for other people. I want to get out there and talk to every single person that's not in that state where they could be, buying a home. Maybe they're renting, maybe they're living in somebody's basement, maybe they're living at home. I don't know where you're living, but why don't we talk about the opportunities that are available to you to build wealth, to set yourself up for that opportunity to buy a home, right? And what will it take as a first-time home buyer to get there? And then you ask the question, what are you paying in rent? And then, well, is it going to be similar to be paying that amount in a mortgage, and then you own the home and then you build equity and you have your own home? So that like drove me every single day to get out of bed and talk to people. So what is your drive? What's going to get you out of bed
and
to talk to
motivate you,
people?
fuel you?
That's your big why.
Does anyone want to share their big why? If not, I'm gonna pick on Mike, because so the thing with Mike is is I like to pick on him. He actually, and I've noticed this in a few sessions we've been in together, he has his big why on his phone, which tells me it's top of mind for him, right? Like he'll just take out his phone and copy it into the workbook. So Mike,
It does change a little bit as time.
and that's such a good point, because I was gonna ask you, and it's okay to change. So maybe today it's, I need to get out of debt. I'm like drowning in debt. I need to get out of debt. So that's your big why. Cool. 5 years from now, it's gonna look different. So Mike.
My big why is to help transform agents' careers and lives through accountability, support, and systems on my team that agents can find success on while building a financially free future for my son.
Do you notice the like personal aspect in his big why? Be selfish with your big why. It is about you, right? Like financially free. So I imagine, Mike, for you, that's not having to worry about money, being able to do what you want when you want, being able to take all the trips and vacations with your son when you want, take him all the places you guys want to like, spend that time together. So does everyone have clarity on their big why for today to fuel them? Yes, like enough to like give you energy and get you through the hard stuff, the days that you just don't feel like lead generating or picking up the phone and talking to that difficult client. Awesome. Okay. Don't forget your big why. So in a moment when we share the template with you, there's going to be a spot for you to put your big why. Always have it top of mind for yourself. What does that look like? A screensaver on your phone, desktop screensaver, a sticky note, whatever that is, but don't lose sight of that big why. The 411, show of hands, who has seen this before? I would hope so. Amanda. And Amanda, how do you use the 411?
So I use it for just my weekly goals, monthly goals, and annual goals for personal and business. So I give myself a big why for the year, and I kind of divvy up those goals for like, how do I need to get there on a weekly basis? What do I need to do on a weekly basis or a monthly basis?
Yep.
And it just gives you the bigger picture of what you need to achieve.
And
To get there.
accountability.
Yeah, and
Right?
it gives you accountability.
So Amanda and I sit down every week. She updates her 411 and we create accountability based on her goals. If she doesn't do it, it's not really my problem. Those are her goals, right? Those are her lifestyle goals, not mine. So what 411 stands for is 4 weeks, 1 month, and 1 year, right? So every month you would be updating your 411. Anything you want to add? Well, before I pass it on, what I will say is this is not a to-do list. Okay, don't treat your 411 like a to-do list. It's your big rock. So your weekly goals should be supporting your monthly goal, and your monthly goals should be supporting your annual goal, right? Actually, Amanda, if you can pull up that spreadsheet template, now would be a great time. Does everyone have either a phone or a laptop? Like, are they connected to the internet? Okay. And is this in Slack?
Yes, it is. Yeah. And I put it in the chat room too.
Slack events or general channel?
Events. Yeah.
So if you go, I'm hoping everyone has access to the broker Slack. Not everyone does. We'll get you the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I'll email it to you.
Yeah. And then if we start with the first tab, the big why. Okay, so this is something I want you to complete after this workshop, right? Set yourself a timeline when you're going to get through these. So my recommendation is by Friday this week. This is all completed and ready to go. So here you'll have space to write down your big why. I added a quote here that I just like reminding myself of. So, and this is in the MREA. One thing all high achievers have in common is they're all working for a big why, right? So you'll have space to write down your big why. The next tab, GPS, is your goals, priorities, and strategies, right? So before you move on to your 411, it's really important you complete this. Mike, do you have a GPS that you follow? You don't have to share it, but like, just a question. Yeah. Okay. Dan, do you have a GPS?
No.
Okay, thank you for being honest. So, do you have a 411?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, so, and I say interesting because you're probably going to be more effective with your 411 if you have a GPS, right? GPS really, your big why is your first step. GPS, I would say, is the second step. Would you?
The 411, the GPS is meant to be defined.
That's right. That's right. So your one thing this year. So if we look at kind of, and everyone's one thing is going to be different. So it could be your one thing is I want to net $100,000 in real estate, right? Or it could be I want to take my family to that trip to Fiji. Like whatever it is, there is that one goal you need clarity on. And then what are your priorities, your 3 priorities to get you there? And then from there, what are the strategies that support that priorities? Did you want to like share an example actually of?
I can, yeah. Just
That'd
show you
be
how
great,
to
just so you
keep it
guys-
all together.
Yeah.
So there's 2 things to my one thing. It's 125 transactions. And the agent retention and recruitment gets me to 10 agents working and finding success by the end of the year.
Mhm.
The first priority is through social media, attracting agents via podcasts on current events, weekly real estate updates on the market, Shorts, that's a social media company that I hired, the Mike and Mel videos we had been doing, and become more visible on other guests' podcasts. Second one was via webinars, doing a 3 Ps program, the divorce client program, divorce network, how to make those evergreen, and then how to win in this market. So setting those sort of courses up that can be just running.
Right.
And so they're not, and I'll focus on fun. The third thing is running a fund via client events. So every month or so I run a client event for a fund. And then the way these work is not all priorities are equal and they're not all being worked on at the same time.
Good point.
right? So
Yep.
when you're working with your 411, you're taking your strategies.
Mm-hmm.
If my first priority might have been the social media.
Yep.
And I know that I need to get those things up and running first in order to piggyback the following strategies on them.
Right.
You're not gonna see me working on priority 2 or 3
Right.
until I've set the grounds for priority 1.
Yeah.
So your monthly shouldn't look the same every single month.
That's so true. Yeah, it's gonna be different.
It should be different
Right?
every month.
Yeah.
It should look a little bit
Yeah.
different.
Your 411, Amanda, if you can switch back to the 411 tab, is not a regurgitation of your GPS. They're two separate things. Your GPS, think of it, your GPS as your overall compass to get to your goal, right? Then you're using your 411 to bring clarity to your one thing for the month, right? And setting up your weeks for success. I use it on my team. We use it as accountability tools as well, right? They're coaching conversations. It's accountability. Again, it's not a to-do list, but I always ask my team is what are your big rocks, right? Your big rocks should be on your weekly for your 411. So we put it here for you to use. I would highly recommend either reviewing your 411 weekly with a coach like Sylvia, with a team leader like myself. You can also buddy up and have accountability partners. But the key being, you have to be accountable to someone else to hold yourself accountable, right?
So
Right.
where is this, so where can I find this on website?
In the events channel.
It's in the
Slack.
events channel, yeah.
Are you in Slack? Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
it on the phone.
So
Oh.
who here has set a New Year's resolution to go to the gym and epically failed?
No, I don't do New
I
Year's
don't do it.
resolutions.
But what if you had a buddy that's like, hey, I'm meeting you at the gym at 6 a.m. Let's go. Are you gonna like get out of bed or gonna leave your friend hanging?
See, I started doing it differently because I will almost.
Right. So it doesn't have, it's just an example, but like, I know for myself, I can't get myself to go to the gym by myself, no way. But if I have a friend meeting me, I'm there, I'm up early and I'm there. So it just goes to show how much like accountability
Mhm.
helps. So then, can you be accountable to yourself? You can try,
Mhm.
or you can die trying.
I go with friends once a month for a beer. I said,
That's a great accountability group.
Yeah.
I want in on that. All right, so if we go to the next tab. Who has seen this before? The economic model. Dan, I'm sure you've seen the economic model.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Let's do a fun exercise. Who has a net income goal in mind?
We all do. And if you don't, make one up. Let's make one up. What about $100,000? We have one on the screen.
Okay, so $100,000. So I know with a lot of you, I've walked through this exercise before you even joined to help you understand your numbers. So now it's available in a tool for you to play around with and adjust as you need it. But one of the things with the economic model is it really does start with the end in mind, right? And I believe, is that a bold quote? I don't know. It is definitely a KW quote, right? Like begin with the end in mind. So
Put it on here.
yeah, I'll add it on there. It should be.
Sign now.
Yeah. And the reason is when we have clarity on where we want to go, the rest is pretty simple, right? Then it's just building out the steps to get there. But what happens a lot of time is most of us don't even have clarity on where we want to go. So you'd be amazed because I do talk to a lot of agents outside of KW as well. When I ask them, well, what do you want to take home to your family this year? No. Anything would be good, or like, they have no idea. So really, this helps you become purposeful on what is that net income you want to take home, right?
And to put it in perspective, like who here has gone on vacation? Right? Where have you gone?
Hawaii.
Hawaii. Now, if you were to get on a plane and not know the plane was going to Hawaii, would you end up in Hawaii? Probably not. Who knows where you would have ended up, right? So the system that we're training you on here gives you the opportunity to step on that plane, follow it step by step, so you can get to Hawaii as opposed to end up in like another part of the world. Ohio, right? So, and then the whole idea is it's tangible. We're gonna take your big goal and break it down, because how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time, right? So you might have this big audacious goal of $100,000 or $200,000 or $1 million. Now, how do we make it tangible and break it down to a monthly, a weekly, and a daily target? So your mind doesn't become overwhelmed. Because what happens when we're overwhelmed? We freeze, right? You're just like, oh, how am I gonna do this? Well, you're just gonna do it one step at a time, and then you're gonna get there, and it's gonna be okay. So this is gonna help you break down your numbers.
Yeah. So let's go through the example. All
Do
right,
it.
$100,000. Do we want to make it higher?
Yeah.
What
Let's
do we
do
want
it.
to make it?
What do you wanna make it?
$1 million. Actually, Amanda, if you go to this,
You've got that.
I got you covered. I have that.
We have that example already ready. We knew somebody was gonna say that.
Yeah, well, it's just how I would think, right? Like you want a number, it's gonna be at least $1 million. I think it's on the slide deck. Yeah,
Lifetime.
you would know.
Thank you, Mike. Slide 10.
It's the same as the both.
Yep. Oh, wait, it would be slide 15. And then you just have to, yeah, because what it does is it walks through the numbers. All right.
Amazing.
So we have. I don't know if you can see the top, if you can move the bar down, I think the million is up there. This is why I have Amanda too. Oh, okay, thank you. All right, so our net income,
Page 10.
oh no, I'm just trying to get the slide to move.
Spacebar?
No, the actual like.
Arrow?
But it's in your workbook, I think, too.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Okay, so net income $1 million. We know, so based on the MREA best practices and when we study top performers, we know that 30% needs to be allocated to operating expenses. How do we define operating expenses? What would you consider an operating expense?
So, like, for example, if you are leasing an office, right?
Mhm.
It's considered operating, you have staff, like you have staffing that you need, somebody that administrative.
Yeah, so staffing, labor, what's another example of operating expense?
Fixed expenses.
Yeah.
So fixed, so anything that's gonna happen, whether you do a deal or not, those are reoccurring expenses, right? So those are called operating expenses. We know that 30% needs to be allocated towards cost of sale. Now, keep in mind, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe these percentages are also kind of built on leverage and a team model too, because I think for a solo agent, I don't like, especially at the beginning, I don't see the operating expense and the cost of sale being that high.
I'm gonna say. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna say it depends on how you wanna look at it. If you're-
Step outside and do it. Go outside and do it. Thank you.
If you're looking at that as GCI if it's from a team owner's perspective, then to have cost of sale over 30% is probably not high enough if you're tracking total GCI.
Depending on the team size.
Right, because they're
Yeah.
typically on 50-50 with most of your agents.
Yeah.
So there's 50% is right off the hop of cost of sale
Yeah.
for variable expenses even.
Yeah.
Now, if you're gonna track that as just the 50% that's left over
Mhm.
after the team split, then this would make total sense.
Yeah. Okay.
So it depends on which number you use. So that would look more like a GCI total of like 5 million. If I was gonna put in the 50% cost of sale on top of.
And I would, with the caveat I would add to that, depending on the team size and depending on your team comp structure. We're assuming 50-50. Yeah, when you're building a team, and I know some of you are looking to build a team by the end of this year, there's several ways you can do that. There's several ways you can compensate your team members, right? So it's not taking into account all those intricacies. It's just kind of a blanket 30% for operating expenses, 30% for cost of sale. Because we know if we want to net $1 million, our total GCI, gross commission income, needs to be at least $2.5 million. right? Oftentimes, what do agents do? They say, I want to make $120,000 in real estate. They, you know,
Go and sell $120,000 in a commission.
and then they're not happy because then they do their taxes or they look at their net, their trade record form and the net commission they're bringing home. And it's like, what the heck? Where'd my money go, right? So we're accounting for that. We're working those into our numbers. The next step is understanding what your average commission amount is going to be. So if you're on a team, this is going to be lower. If you're a solo agent, this is going to be higher. If you work in Toronto, this is going to be higher. So understanding what the average commission is. Mike, would you say it's a fair statement that right now we're probably at around $14,000 for average GCI?
I look at, it depends on if you're listing based or buyer based, but
Right.
Anywhere from 15 to 18, I see typically.
Yeah, so feel free to plug in the number you think is, just look at your past transactions. If you don't have any, then I would probably just use 14,000.
Yeah.
Then you get your total units sold. Amazing. So now we know how many homes we need to sell to hit our net income. Already, like I know when I did this, I'm like, oh, this is great. I didn't even think of this, right? But it kind of makes sense. Then we want to understand what percentage are going to come from listings and what percentage are going to come from buyers. When we're new, what does that look like? Are we heavier on the listing side or are we heavier on the buyer side? Buyer side, right? That's okay, right? It's normal. So I would say 70% buyer side when you're new, and then 30% listing side. The goal will be though, eventually we're going to move you to 50-50. And then next step is we're going to move the bulk of your business to listings. So when we look at, Amanda, if you can pull up the Excel template. Did you guys get access to it, by the way?
Yep.
And then if you go to economic model, you can go plug in your numbers there, right? And it's going to pre-populate everything. So I have $100,000 there because a lot of the conversations I have with agents entering the industry, that's typically the goal, 100 to 120. We know that you're not going to convert all those listing appointments and you're not going to convert all those buyer appointments. So we factor that in the conversions. So we're saying on the listing side, a 70% conversion. On the buyer side, we're probably going to be looking at a 60% conversion, maybe less, right? So know your numbers. If you know your conversion numbers, you can plug them in there. This is just the MREA recommended ones, but this can be customized.
And if you don't start tracking it,
Yeah.
always know your numbers. Keep track of those every appointment you go on versus every appointment that converts to a signed contract versus every signed contract that converts to a sale.
Mm-hmm.
Always be tracking that so that these are very relevant to you every time you set your business plan.
Yeah. Then this was mind blowing for me. How many appointments you need to go on, how many seller appointments you need to go on, and how many listing appointments you need to go on. So you can, when I tell agents, you know, we can definitely show you how to net $100,000 in your business. A lot of times like, oh, I don't know, like that's really hard. I heard it's really difficult. But when you look at the monthly breakdown, what do we have there? Half a listing appointment in 1 month, whatever that is. I round it up to 1. I don't know what half a listing appointment is. And 1.9, so let's round that up to 2 buyer appointments. Would you say that's very reasonable as a brand new real estate agent to go on 1 listing appointment in 1 month and have 2 buyer consults in 1 month?
I think it is realistic.
Yeah.
It just depends on the type of effort that somebody is putting, right?
That's right.
And this gives you a goal of what you need to do, so.
Yeah. Well, you know your numbers,
Yeah.
right? Which is really powerful. So now you know your numbers. Okay, so you have access to that template. Use it. The last tab before we move on, we're not going to cover it today, but it's your budget model. Start using this as well, right? So your listing income, your seller income. So this is your, any residential business you do. I know some of you do some commercial. There's a spot for that. Your cost of sales, so your commissions to the brokerage, your royalties paid, team fees on there too. And you can add to this, but this is a great template to start using and tracking your expenses. Any questions?
I just want to add something.
Yeah.
So if you're new.
Yeah.
One of the reasons is this is a compliment. not that many brokerages will ever share something like this. And this is fantastic. I've worked for 5 years, and coming to this brokerage, what I've learned in 2 months, less than 2 months that I've been here, I wish that I was here the first day that I got my license. I would have been way ahead of the game. But
Yeah.
that's okay.
That's okay, you're here now, right? We're gonna make up for lost time, because we know your numbers
You're
now.
lucky. That's amazing.
Okay, so next on our slide deck, I don't know, I'm gonna wait for a minute. And then just, we're gonna find out, it's gonna be a surprise. Amanda's working through her numbers. Actually, we're gonna skip a list. We talked about 30, 30, 40. We talked about conversions. We can skip through this, some more numbers. And then, okay, so this is 500,000. Marcus, actually finish going through this. I want Marcus to see this. These would be your numbers.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit less because the average commission would go up.
Oh, right. Actually, it would be. I would say like almost
Double that, so half
Yeah.
of those numbers.
half of that,
So
like the
90
100.
units sold. So.
But you'll need leverage, right?
for
So
sure,
that's a
for
separate
sure.
conversation we'll have. But it's totally doable. Okay, moving on. All right, so in your worksheet, the economic model there is provided. We provided you with a spreadsheet where you don't have to do the calculations. Make a note, I would work through the calculations, like with a calculator, because I think it's really, really important for you to understand how those numbers work, right? How to calculate them, how they work, because then it'll resonate and it'll have more sticking power. Okay, moving on.
Ahas, any ahas?
So for those of you that are new to Keller Williams, aha means like any key moments or like something that just resonated with you.
Light bulb, like did something, so we'd love to share your ahas, like what?
We'll get
thoughts?
one ahas because we're
Yeah.
kind of. It's really-
Yep, any ahas from that little exercise?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it's, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no.
So it's really interesting when you say, you know what, you want to make certain amount of money.
Mhm.
And that was, once you break it down, you really find out that what is exactly that you need to do to be able to achieve that, and breaks it down. The daily thing and the daily number that you can come up with. Oh, wow. You know, like you look at 100 things, you're like, how much, 100 lessons, how much? Break it down. So, yeah, that's doable.
Absolutely it is. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so we know none of this is possible without what? Like, what do we need in real estate to make money?
Clients.
That's great. How do we get clients?
Library.
Did you say the library? Your
Bribery?
front doorstep?
Bribery.
They don't show up
You know, bribery.
at your front
Bribery is one
door?
way.
So
Definitely.
increase your database by, you know, you have your own database of people that you know, circle of influence. That's your key database that you need to focus on. And then how you're gonna add to it to increase that database with more leads.
Yep. So we know, actually, if you flip over, we might have another triangle. We have a lot of triangles because they just demonstrate things really well. I think the next one.
So we just finished working on page 10, which is the economic model, looking at
Maybe not.
numbers. And now we're gonna talk about like how to get our leads so we can pay for our expensive vacations and weddings and honeymoons.
Okay,
Yeah.
sweet.
Right, like I came at the right time
Yeah,
because you just got married or you're getting.
July, end of July.
There you go.
Yeah, you need to figure out how to pay for all this stuff
Yeah.
next. It's here now.
All right, so the lead generation is another model. And again, we don't have time to go into detail. But the MREA has the details. We teach several workshops and clinics throughout the year as well. That will dive deeper into this. But essentially what we want to do is really understand the lead generation model and really understand the difference between prospecting and marketing. And anyone articulate, or maybe just take a guess, what's it, in your head, what's the difference between prospecting versus marketing?
Prospecting is more proactive, like not proactive, but.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
proactive
would
lead
say
generation,
proactive.
as opposed to waiting for them to phone you.
Yep,
Jeff coins it sweat equity versus check equity.
right, because it is actually, it doesn't have to cost you anything, but it does, you do have to invest your time in it, right? And proactive, yeah, you got it, Ryan, it literally says proactive.
And we actually have an activity for on page 11. where you
Yeah,
can-
I just want to go through marketing first and then we'll
Oh,
do the
okay.
activity, yeah.
And then that will help us kind of solidify that
Yeah.
thought.
Marketing. How do we use marketing in our business? At what point do we use it?
After you lead with revenues, once you can afford to add that into the business, that's when you start adding that.
That's right, yeah, so what would be an example of a marketing activity?
Mailers to your farm.
Mm-hmm, yep,
Facebook leads.
mm-hmm,
Social media, so.
that's right.
part of that.
Yeah, marketing a client event maybe you're doing. So anything that enhances and adds value to all the time and effort you put into prospecting and adding them to your database. Okay, activity time.
Yeah.
Yeah, walk us through it.
Page 11, so you turn to page 11. It's actually, now that we've identified prospecting and marketing, and then there's a column in the middle that says both. You can just take quickly 30 seconds to go through the entire column A, B, and C and circle what you currently do.
We'll give you 2 minutes, because 30,
Quickly, please, is all I meant.
a quick 2 minutes. We good?
Okay. Who has the most circled or checked items in the first column?
So that would be the prospect column.
Okay, what about the both? Like who, is anybody in the middle? Middle, okay,
Kind of like a tie between prospecting and both.
right?
Okay.
And then what about like, who's on the, like, anybody heavy on the marketing side? Okay, so when I first started in the business 16 years ago, Jim Reitzel was in the room saying this particular thing. At the beginning, you can do business either by prospecting and leveraging your time, or marketing and leveraging your money. So do you have a really, really deep bank account? If you do, go ahead and, like, you know, maybe you can leverage your money that way. But he definitely recommended trying to do being in the both column if possible, because we all have a lot of time at work just starting out in the business. So think about that. What do you have more of, time or money? And then direct your energy to the column where you have the ability to leverage your, you know, your resources. And then as you're starting making more and more money, you should be gravitating toward the marketing side, because that's when you may want to have more time to travel, go on family vacations, take time for yourself, and maybe do other things that you're passionate about, coaching, training, like myself, for example, and helping other people succeed in their business. So the purpose of this exercise is to then open up your mind to all the other things that you could also be doing. So looking back at the list, A, B, and C, specifically want you to focus on A if possible, the prospecting model. Choose one additional item you haven't tried yet and implement it ASAP. What's another thing you can add? And can we have a share? but what's another thing you feel you could add to your prospecting model?
You see, like if you think of something that's not on there, that counts too, as long as it's prospecting.
So I'll share a random example just because it like this is one that was also recommended. So what's an activity that you're passionate about doing outside of work? One thing I'm passionate about is cycling. So getting out on my bike and riding with my friends at the Waterloo Cycling Club. So automatically I go there and I'm like, hey, how's it going? How's your day been? What are you up to these days? How blah blah blah. How's family? How are your kids? How's work going? Oh, do you have any home projects around the house? Oh, okay. How's real estate, Sylvia? Bingo. We start the real estate conversation. So all I'm doing is riding my bicycle with a bunch of friends, and then I'm also selling houses. Isn't that pretty cool? Right? So what's another activity that you're into right now that you could leverage, but that you're already like participating? Are you going to the gym? Do you have like a
Are you putting your hand up?
Yeah.
Let's hear.
I play basketball every weekend and I closed 4 deals just from that.
Oh my goodness, repeat that again.
I was playing basketball every weekend and then 4 of those people that I see regularly all bought houses for me.
Did it feel like work?
No, I was just hooping.
Yeah,
right?
you were doing what you love, right?
Yeah.
And so when you think of, and we're gonna kind of transition into this soon, is really understanding what your superpowers are. Meaning like what's your natural default? What comes naturally to you? And then honing in on that to build your business. Because when you do that, it doesn't feel like work. It's actually really fun, right? So, someone, like if you were to tell someone, yeah, I actually get paid to play basketball. That's what happened. You managed to get 4 deals from just doing what you love.
That is so funny because I would say I'm getting paid to ride my bike.
There you go.
I have to buy my next bike. So, hey, who else wants to buy and sell so I can get myself a new bike?
So before we move
Yeah.
on, what I'm gonna add here is, again, when we look at the top real estate producers and we look at the MREA interviews, all of them do, can anyone take a guess what they all do when it comes to prospecting versus marketing? What column do you think they fit into? Both at a very high level. So the way to think about it is prospecting is how you add leads and contacts to your database. And the marketing is how you add value to them and stay top of mind. Pretty easy, right? We have 2 jobs, lead generation and getting listings through our marketing efforts. Okay. Rule of 4, we kind of touched on this. So we know, and this is updated annually. So we have a division within Keller Williams called KW Research. So every year we release new stats just based on the research the company is doing. And the most recent stat is that the top 82% of business comes from only 4 sources, right? The way I like to think of this is you really want to focus on one pillar at a time. And your first pillar, again, for those of you who have had conversations with me, should be what? Your database, or data bank, as I call it. There is literally like money sitting in your data bank.
Think of your database as your gold mine.
Yeah. And then the pillars 2, 3, 4, well, for Marcus, that's basketball. It's his community and the extracurricular activities he does. For Ryan, it's going to be something different. Like Ryan, when you look at your business, where does most of it come from?
Most of it is friends, sphere,
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
But I did also do several deals for playing baseball.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So having clarity on where your business is coming from, which actually leads us to, if you go to the next slide. Okay, I will touch on this really briefly. And we kind of talked about it. So we talked about the importance of your database and really the difference between leads and contacts. I don't know, actually, if we talked about that. Can anyone tell me the difference between leads and contacts? Leads are what?
These are the people that you have gone, like, say, for a Facebook ad, people that you don't know.
They're incoming.
Yeah, they're income.
Yeah.
Contacts are somebody that you know personally or been in touch with them if they're part of your circle of influence. That's what it is.
Contact is someone you've actually had some sort of real estate conversation. You've made contact, right? A Facebook lead that comes in and says, that's interested in seeing a property, that's not a contact. You haven't spoken to them, right? So contact really is that, and I would say either face-to-face or phone-to-phone conversation. I don't know, you could count text, it's a gray area. But really that's the difference between leads and contact. And so the purpose of this illustration is really helping you understand your job is to lead generate, capturing those leads. Then you want to turn them into a contact and input them in your database. And then you want to prepare that contact for a conversion. One of two things are going to happen when they convert. They become repeat business for you. It's new business or repeat, and or they become referrals, a source of referrals for you, right? So just because you've transacted, you've closed a transaction, the relationship shouldn't end there. You're continuing to nurture them.
And if I may add, we'll work together with you on how to identify these leads. So is this lead that's now turning into a contact an A, a B, or a C? How to enter them into your database and then plug them into a specific smart plan so that you can continue building that relationship. So one of the things that we will help you work on if you haven't started is like going through your entire list of contacts in your database, connecting with them, talking to them, reaching out to them, and trying to identify their motivation to move between now and the end of the year. And then who else do they know that they could potentially refer to you that is thinking of moving? So what life situations are they going through right now? Are they upsizing their family? Is their family dynamics, are they splitting? Or are they changing work, or is their job situation switching? And then identifying their need to move will help you then figure out how to plug them into a specific smart plan, which is where we're going to talk about next.
Okay, database or data bank, as I love to call it. Who currently has a nurture plan set up in their database? By nurture, I mean it's a systematic way you're reaching out to your database on a consistent basis. 2, 3, okay, 4. All right, I really want you to, because this conversation is all about knowing your numbers. I really want you to understand the numbers that are sitting in your database. Can I get a volunteer? What I need from you is the number of contacts in your database. Raji.
600.
600 contacts in your database. Okay. So there's different percentages around this. For my Zoom participants, I don't know if you can see the whiteboard, but I will verbally walk you through it. So what you want to do is, if you have a database, whether it's in a CRM or Excel spreadsheet.
We have a question.
Yeah, Jeff, feel free to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I didn't realize my hand was left up there. We'll go with Roger's example.
Just unmute yourself if you have a question, because I'm not really monitoring the chat. So.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Okay. So number of contacts, and if they're not anywhere, like they're on Facebook and your phone, just look at your phone and see how many contacts you have on there. Again, we know through research, industry research, that 4% of those contacts will generate an ROI for you, right? So in Raji's example, he has 600 contacts, and 4% of 600 equals 24 deals. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, Melanie, not all of them are going to buy or sell with me. That's okay, because a lot of these are going to be referrals, right? Because you're staying top of mind. Now, if you're really skeptical, then go ahead and cut that number in half if you want, right? If that makes you feel better. But still, 12 deals just from your database, that's a pretty good year, right? And we know if the average commission is right now anywhere from 14 to 18,000, you're making at least around 170 just from your database.
That's one house a month, by the way. I just wanted to put that in perspective.
That's pretty
one.
pretty good year,
Like,
for just focusing on one lead gen pillar, right? And so that's why we are so adamant that your database and sphere of influence absolutely needs to be your #1 lead generation pillar.
And I wish we had Star in here, cause he's like a NPC, he just joined our program and he, like 3 weeks ago, and he's on to deal number 3. We had a buyer.
From
and
his
a seller,
database.
From his database,
Yeah.
and then one that he's still pending. But so if he's on a roll of 1 per week, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And all he's doing is plugging into the resources and tools and staying accountable to what his commitments were for his business. And we're doing it.
So, for those of you who are kind of assessed yourself, again, this is a mid-year review. So if you're giving yourself maybe 5 out of 10, you know, it definitely could be better. This is a really great place to start. So make sure all your contacts are in a CRM, they're tagged. And then this is a really great way to organize all of that. So when we look at leads, our goal is to connect with them, right? And so this gives you an example of ways on a 19 touch program, you can initiate that connection. You definitely want one high value touch to cement it. And then you want to put them into a 36 touch nurture program.
What's an example of a high value touch, by the way, to cement it? Because I feel like that's
Pretty vague.
yeah.
Yeah. It could be a great event. It could be, I know one of our agents did an ice cream truck event to his entire database, and it was a great opportunity to meet some of those leads and actually put a face to a name.
Another one is simple as like, you know, has anyone taken the time to, you know, sit down with them and talk about what it takes to buy and sell a home in today's market? Right? Because nobody has time for anything these days. So when you have that quality conversation, when you're reaching out to your database and simply saying, you might want to write this down. Like, has anyone taken the time to sit down with you and talk about what it takes to buy a home in today's market? Nobody has taken the time. Well, let's meet. Let's go ahead and set up a time for us to meet so we can talk about what it takes.
It's a pretty simple system to follow, right? But the point is, you got to kind of start somewhere. And when we talk about your 3 lead gen pillars, then that is the next activity. Database definitely should be one of them. Okay. So in your workbooks, and this is our final activity. 21. My database, my business. So what it's going to ask you to do, and we're not going to complete the entire sheet today. We're not going to have time. But again, kind of take it as homework because you should fill it out. You should spend the time thinking about it. Number of contacts needed to achieve the goals of my economic model. Number of contacts in my database today. And then what does that look like each month and each week? So what I want you to do is really, so take the time to write down your 3 to 4 current lead generation sources. And then once you're done that, write down potential future sources.
If you're like humming and hawing about any of these things, I just want to say, you know, book a discovery call with me. Like there's no reason why you wouldn't want to sit down and talk about your numbers in more detail. So if you're curious how to, you know, identify all this and work the plan, set out the plan, work the plan, just let me know and we'll meet in person. We'll have a coffee or do a Zoom meeting for Zoomers out there. And we'll make sure you're set up because basically part of like success is knowing what to do, right? Just like in our airplane example, if we want to go to Hawaii, we're not, if the plane does not like direct its path to Hawaii, even if it's off by 1 degree, like just that distance alone, they're going to be far off from that goal. So this is why we want to get so specific with the details, because they really do matter. Every single day, what you do matters.
Does everyone have at least 3 current lead gen sources? And do you have at least 2 to 3 future lead gen sources? Would you say that you are doing, whether you have 3 or 4 current ones, all of them at a high level today? Okay, so I don't want you to move from that column in your business until you've done all 3 or 4 at a high level, meaning you have systems in place, you're tracking your numbers, you know the ROI from each source. And when you have that understanding, then you start adding or replacing, right? So by replacing, I mean, if you are currently cold calling, you're tracking your numbers, you're like, you know what, I have a better ROI going out and playing basketball. I'm going to focus on that, right? So you've made that business decision to remove that as a lead gen source and replace it with something else. Make sense? Okay. Where I see a lot of agents fall short is this next step. It's your nurture campaign. You're 19 to connect with your leads and you're 36 to convert them to deals. So it's given you an example. I want you to spend just a couple minutes, look at each, the 19 and the 36, and see how you would customize it for your business. These are just suggestions, right? The one I probably wouldn't change, to be honest, is the quarterly calls. I would keep that in, but what the call is about, that's completely up to you, right? How you add value in that call, you get to decide that. So take a couple minutes and work on that. Hmm? Is it June? Let me. It's fine. You go to the trust. Yeah. If you were really busy, it must be Wednesday.
Feedback on where I get to stack things up.
Hey, it works for our agents. Not so much for us. Put you in touch with the head of our education committee.
No, he's a jerk.
I know.
Page 21, you may want to like make sure it's on your desk, on your background, on your desktop, on your like, make sure like this is your literally.
Can I make a suggestion?
Roadmap.
Instead of, you can put it on your desk, on your background, put it in a system, put it in command if you are using command, put it in follow-up boss if you're using follow-up boss.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
You need to automate as much as possible.
I'm just kind of one of those person that likes things in my face. So when I wake up in the morning, this is on my desk.
Yeah.
And then I log into my command.
Definitely. If that helps, absolutely.
Like, what am I looking at this morning? Oh, right here. It's right here. Okay, let's go. Right?
Does anyone, because I find a lot of agents, they do struggle with this, right? Because it can be overwhelming when you think about it, like setting all this up, like it's a lot of moving pieces and technology and automating. Is anyone doing it at a high level or successfully? I'd love to hear maybe a key insight you can share with the group. Mike.
Started one at a time.
Okay.
Right? You can't implement all of this tomorrow. But what could, think of this as maybe this is my GPS
Yeah.
for the next 3 months.
Hmm,
And what do I need to accomplish in month 1 to make month 2 set up for success, to
Yeah.
make month 3 set up for success? So if that looks like, well, I should probably get that lead generation pillar figured out first
Yeah.
because I need to generate clients to do the rest of it. Let me figure that out as my 4-in-1 task for
or the monthly goal
Like the monthly
for,
goal
for
is to-
June or
if I
July.
get my lead generation system
Yeah.
model running.
Yeah.
At a high level.
Yeah.
And then August might look like the next thing I gotta do is I gotta make sure I'm following up with everybody properly.
Yep.
So next thing I need to do is let me get this touch campaign and everything there set up, so my follow-up systems are all set and ready to go.
Mm-hmm,
So take it one piece at a time as you build it in, right? If you look at that and say, I better put all this together tomorrow.
mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a rough worksheet. You're gonna get this, and then you're gonna build them all out. But you start.
This is, yeah,
Sequential order. That's gonna
this,
build your business.
exactly, this worksheet is just meant for you to kind of get all your ideas and thoughts onto pen and paper or Excel, whatever you prefer. But then the most important part is where most of us fall short is the implementation, right? And the reason a lot of us fall short with the implementation is it's overwhelming. Like, this is a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie. And yet, when you take the time and tackle it one step at a time, it's actually gonna make you more money, leave you with more time to do other things you want in life, and really set up that, if you think back to that initial triangle we talked about, foundation, set you up with the right foundation so that you can go be more creative in your business.
Absolutely. And if you're like watching this video after, like, because we're recording it and you have like a million questions or even just one question, feel free to email me, Coach Sylvia at kwinnovationrealty.com. Just email me any of your questions. If you want like the workbook or the digital handouts that we're giving you and like the Excel spreadsheet, just go ahead and like message me directly. I'll be happy to connect with you, go over the stuff with you one-on-one. And
Awesome.
we can work on that together.
So, any questions on the nurture plan before we wrap things up? All right. I want to get a couple volunteers, whether it's in person or over Zoom. Please share one thing you want to implement in your business after this workshop. Just one thing.
Not all at once.
So one thing that I want to implement is definitely break it down to the goal. So what your goal is, what you want to make, and use that sheet to really break it down. Because in my opinion, that's the first step. If you break it down and you say, you know what, you need to do 12 meals a year,
Yeah.
then you come up with this, okay, how many calls do I need to make?
Yeah.
To be successful to get that. That's
Amazing. So Raji, your one thing is to complete the economic model for your business.
Yes.
That's a really good goal. What's your timeline?
by this week.
Okay, and then who are you going to report the accountability to?
I'm comfortable.
Perfect. I will hold you accountable. Mike, you had a
I
comment.
will implement the nurture follow-up system, 36 touches to specifically my farm pond.
Okay.
Database to have that 100% customized.
Okay, and your timeline to get that done. End of next month, and you're accountable to. So we know it's gonna get done. Amazing. Any other shares virtually? If you're kind of struggling to pick one thing, I'm gonna make a suggestion. This template, if I was in your shoes, I would complete all those. Okay, I wouldn't complete the budget model, that, you know, that's fine. We will get there eventually, but I would complete my big Y, GPS, 411, and economic by the end of the month. Would you say that's doable?
When do we have the follow-up schedule to this?
Mike, I'm
4 weeks.
glad you asked that.
Oh, I'm planning to. 4 weeks though, right? That's week.
In 4 weeks, Mike and Bree are going to be doing a workshop on business planning. So just a continuation of this, and we're going to be diving deeper into numbers. But more importantly, we're really going to be understanding not only how many contacts and leads we need to support these numbers we're working on. What else?
Well, I believe You have to have this complete to be in that.
Absolutely. So if you
Otherwise-
want to participate in that, this needs to be done for your business. Again, not the budget model, but your big Y, GPS, 411 economic model. You need to know that in order to get value from that next session.
And I mean, you've got 4 weeks to get this accomplished. I would say the budget model is pretty important, just for the simple fact that how do I know what the economic model starts at if I don't know?
Fill out what you can. It's pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
right?
It's-
Definitely fill out what you can.
It just gives you what the net income is essentially. That
Yep.
number up here, that 100,000, is that even enough? I don't know until I know what the budget is.
That's right.
Right, so
That's right.
you could be filling this all out and not even having the number you actually need up there.
Awesome.
But yeah, we're gonna break it all down and do some more tracking type stuff to bring it all together.
Any questions?
Looks great, great information.
And everyone, I hope everyone is clear on one thing they're gonna implement. Like, again, I'm a big believer that if you're attending the training, you need to walk away with actually with one thing you're gonna go implement in your business that's gonna move it forward. Right?
That's it.
One thing, you know,
All you take,
Yeah.
pick the one thing now.
Yeah.
And then go with that. Let the rest of it come together later.
Yeah. well, thank you, everyone. Stay tuned for part 2 with Mike and Preet. And as always, reach out if you have any questions. Thank you for joining us today.
It's very well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Well, thank you.